mobile phones during the graduation ceremony. The ceremony is about to start. Graduands and guests are asked to remain seated when the procession enters the auditorium.
I declare open this congregation of the University of Sussex. I'm delighted, as Chancellor, to welcome you formally to this graduation ceremony. The warmest of welcomes to our honoured guests, our distinguished faculty members, and to those of the professional services here at Sussex. But above all, I welcome you, our graduands, and your families and friends who join you here today. And to those who couldn't make it here in person and may be watching this via live video stream. Hello. How you doing? Now don't answer back, I can't hear you. Now, you may be interested to know that during your time here at Sussex, we have continued to grow and have now registered a record number of students, over 13,000 on campus. And our postgraduate and international student populations are the largest we've ever had, demonstrating quite clearly the broad appeal Sussex holds for many to continue their educational journey. The university rankings for this year places Sussex in the top 20 in the UK, in the top 50 in Europe, and just outside the top 100 in the world. Sussex was also shortlisted in the Times Higher Awards 2013-14 for its innovative work on widening participation to higher education, helping talented students come to university, whatever their background. And on a quirkier note, the Sussex Pirate Society made it onto national TV after they appeared this month on the BBC quiz Eggheads, where they only narrowly lost to the expert panel. And also mammal vocal communication research by Sussex shows that male koalas have a unique vocal organ that makes their calls 20 times deeper and more attractive to female koalas. That's 20 times deeper and more attractive. Okay, fair enough then. No single female koalas here, obviously. It is, of course, a profound honour that you chose Sussex as your place of study, and that graduates from all over the world will be receiving their degrees at these ceremonies. And on that note, just a quick word to our foreign students. I want to thank you for playing your part in making us a global university. I know how hard it can be to travel so far and at such expense, and to try and get to grips with a different culture and sometimes a different set of values and modes of behaviour. To overcome those hurdles and those of unfamiliarity and homesickness, to remain focused and resolute. You've been a credit to your university, your families, and your countries. To our homegrown graduands, thank you for confounding the oft-taken view in wider society about the value of a formal education, that it somehow reflects an abdication of social responsibility, that the so-called real world begins when education ends. Many, particularly at our winter graduations, are living examples that learning is a lifelong pursuit, not attaching itself to age, social background, or specific period in one's life. And I know that a lot of you will have persevered while struggling to balance your studies with home life, raising children, loss, sickness, trying to survive on overdrafts, loans, or family help. Every one of you has taken all that on, and us being here now is irrefutable proof that you've emerged victorious. It's your commitment to seeing this journey through, despite the million reasons not to, that we're really celebrating here today. So, as this part of your journey draws to a close, I think it would be fitting to acknowledge those that have been with you every step of the way, your families and friends. Many have made great sacrifices to get you to this moment, and at some expense to be here today. So graduands and lecturers, a round of applause for the families and friends. Now, you're probably thinking, please get on with it. All we want to do is to get across the stage without losing our mortarboards or tripping over our gowns and landing in someone's lap in the front row. What a choice of laps you have today. It's like a beautiful butterfly collection, isn't it, really? Or the Harry Potter years, the ones that didn't get in. Either way. Finally, on a technical note, I don't care whether you've been up here before. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how brainy brilliant you are or anything. You haven't actually got your degrees yet. You are graduands, you are not graduates. And you getting one may just depend on how much love you show me when you come up here to get it. It's really simple. No love, no degree. Families and friends, this is a glorious day for you, I know, and a glorious opportunity to really embarrass your loved ones when they come up. They've done it enough times to you in the past. This is payback time. So when the time comes, do have your cameras ready, have your vocal cords primed, and make as much noise as you can as your superstar crosses the stage. If any of our graduates here do not have family or friends with you here today, then I'll be your family and friends, so you're not alone. I call upon the Vice-Chancellor to address the congregation.
Chancellor, Madam Mayor, graduands, butterfly laps, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. This is not a good start, Chancellor. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Much better. Thank you, thank you. Well, it's a real pleasure to welcome you to this graduation ceremony. Graduation is one of the heights of the academic year, and a time when we on stage and family and friends in the auditorium can truly indulge in your success. Although graduation has its formal aspects, and you'll see that we have made a bit of an effort today, as the Chancellor has indicated, it's a time to relax, have fun, and do all you possibly can, and he means it, to embarrass your loved ones as they walk, run, dance, trip across the stage. Before we get into the main business of the day, I thought I should just say something about our university. Sussex has had a good year, despite having to tussle, like all universities, with the massive changes that are occurring in response to the government's approach to funding of higher education and the strategy to progressively deregulate the allocation of student numbers. During the past 3 years, as the Chancellor said, the university has grown in size by about 1,000 students a year. It's evident that Sussex continues to be a very popular destination for both UK and overseas students. It's not surprising, therefore, that we are graduating more students at these winter ceremonies than ever before, well over 2,000 of you during the next few days. More than 100 nations will be represented at these ceremonies, and a wide spectrum of ages spanning 6 decades. An amazing reflection of the diversity and truly global reach of Sussex. We have this year launched ambitious plans for the further growth and development of the university over the next 5 years. We call the plan Making the Future. Our growth strategy last year enabled us to appoint more than 200 academic staff, including about 30 new professors. This has given us more teachers, more researchers, all contributing to the academic strength of the university. We've also built on the success of our 50th anniversary to celebrate the university and its achievements. We showcased the university at events like the Sussex Conversations at the Royal Institution in London, which is a model we're continuing with. This year the debate is around future energy policy and features Sussex academics talking to leading commentators from industry and the voluntary sector. Again, we built on the success of our 50th by reaching out to alumni around the world. In 2014, we will be holding events across the globe in Asia, Europe, and the US, and look forward to seeing many of you at these events. Do please visit our alumni stand in the Corn Exchange and find out more about these occasions. Our new strategy also affirms the university's commitment to have impact beyond the bounds of academia. We're keen, for example, to enhance our contribution to the local community, currently assessed at the end of last year as around £600 million each year. But we aspire to have influence on a grander scale, both nationally and internationally. And one of our biggest contributions to the outside world is the work and activity of you, our graduates. I'd like to tell you about some of our other successes during the year, but one of the things I've learnt during my time at Sussex is people seem to like me better the less I speak. So we've put together a short video which illustrates some of the highlights of last year. Special thanks to Rob Reed, Carrie Prue, and all of our communications team who put that together for us. In parallel with the growth in students and academic faculty, we're continuing to develop the campus to a quality that we believe will provide unparalleled experience for students and staff. We're refurbishing our theatre complex to create the new Attenborough Centre for Creative Arts, which will be ready by the end of this year, and giving another of our newer buildings a serious makeover to provide a new home for the rapidly growing School of Law, Politics and Sociology. We've included in our new strategy two important developments. We're planning a major redevelopment of the science estate, primarily to provide high-quality teaching and research laboratory facilities, and a further increase in student residential accommodation so that we can meet our target of having at least 40% of our students in university housing. There are, however, some significant challenges ahead. We're all too aware of the heavy financial pressures faced by our students and very concerned that these pressures are only going to increase in the future. I'm particularly concerned now about the funding of master's programs and postgraduate research. Sussex is making an important contribution to ease the pressure by creating additional scholarships for Sussex graduates. These Sussex graduate scholarships are available to all Sussex graduates who achieve a first or a 2-1 undergraduate honours degree and wish to proceed directly to postgraduate taught study at Sussex. In addition, we've created over 100 Chancellor's Master's Scholarships for UK and EU nationals who receive a first from a UK university. These initiatives, which are additional to our international scholarships, are designed to show that Sussex, as a world-leading research-intensive university, is committed to retaining and attracting highly qualified and motivated postgraduate students, irrespective of their background. Many of us are still concerned that incoming students from overseas are regarded as immigrants by the Home Office and that the visa application process remains excessively bureaucratic and is acting as a major disincentive to potential applicants. We continue to make the case to the Home Office and the UKBA that our international students are not immigrants, but highly valued guests. You make a vital contribution to our research effort and our taught programs and make it possible for the university to create a global campus. Those of you from overseas remain extremely important to us when you graduate and return home, as we believe you are our best ambassadors back in your own country. Despite these challenges, we are adamant that the best students will always be able to find a place at Sussex, irrespective of their personal circumstances. And we will be building on ways in which we already support students through scholarships and other funds. And now a few words to you, our graduands. You, our students, are the heart of the university. Without you, quite simply, the university would not exist. Sussex has always strived to create a learning and research environment that encourages independent thought, which hopefully allows you to leave the institution with more questions than answers. I hope you agree that we're continuing to meet these aspirations. At a predominantly postgraduate graduation ceremony like this, we get a sense of the huge diversity of graduating students. Of course, some of today's graduands are themselves parents, some with children still at home. To you, I offer special congratulations. Balancing family life and study is a real challenge. My warmest congratulations to you. We know that many Sussex graduands are themselves the children and in some cases the grandchildren of Sussex alumni. Our staff at the alumni desk would be delighted if any returning Sussex graduates would go along and say hello. And finally, a few words to families and friends. Firstly, can I join the Chancellor in thanking you for the support that you have given your sons and daughters, your partners, your spouses, and in some cases, your parents and other family members during their time at Sussex, for it has really helped to make today a reality. Many of you will have made great sacrifices to help your loved ones get to this point today. The university fully recognises the important role that you have played and offers you our sincere thanks. And finally, graduates, I hope that your experiences at Sussex have extended way beyond the limits of your degree, and that they will have gone some way to prepare you for the future. But remember, this is not the end of education, just a point on a journey of lifelong learning. I hope also that you will be able to take our values, such as freedom, tolerance, equality, social responsibility, and honesty, forward into the next stage of your life. I would ask you to remember the multinational community that you have created here at Sussex and build on those experiences as you go out into the wider world. Sadly, we still live in a world where poverty, catastrophe, and conflict abound. We all have the responsibility to play our part to promote societal change, and I look to you and your Sussex experience to go out into the world and make a difference. As you think about the new life that will begin to unfold when you leave the ceremony today, I would ask you to keep some time and space in your heart for Sussex. Remember, you will always be part of the Sussex family, and it is likely that we will need you in the future, perhaps more than you will need the university. You will, of course, be joining an illustrious group of alumni, many of whom have made major contributions to the worlds of politics, government, academia, the creative industries, business, international development, and so on. You name it, and you will find Sussex graduates worldwide changing lives, making an impact. Our alumni relations team will make sure we stay in contact wherever you might be in the future. And so finally, let me take this opportunity to say again how proud of you we are and offer you our sincere congratulations. I wish all of you every good fortune for your chosen futures and hope that your experience at Sussex has gone some way to prepare you for the next stage of your life. My very best wishes to you all. I call upon the head of the School of Education and Social Work, Professor Brian Hudson.
Chancellor, I present to you for the Diploma of Higher Education in Social Care, Susanna Kings. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Social Work, Holly Croydon. Laura Johnson. Beverly Narty. Rosalie South. And Ruth Tate. For the postgraduate certificate in learning and teaching in higher education, Kirsty Patrick. For the postgraduate certificate in education, graduate teaching programme, Sarah Ahmed. Ella Glazebrook. Charlotte King. And Matthew Lewis. For the Professional Certificate in Education in Secondary Music, Kyle McInnes. For the Postgraduate Certificate in Education in 7 to 14 Mathematics, Nina Pearson. For 7 to 14 Modern Foreign Languages, Stacey Dean. For Primary, Katie Allen. Ruth Beresford. Mary Browning. And Rebecca Greenhalgh. For Secondary English, Peter Adil Smith. Lauren Black Fenner. Adam Harmer. Sonia Khan. Holly Potter Adams. And Laura Turner. For Secondary History, Nicholas Duke. Mavanwi Faulkner. Kate Guy. Paul Holt. Milan Jayasuriya. Samantha Lanfear. Megan Lewis. Jonathan Mills. Courtney Peck. Ross Pittman. Amanda Scales. And Amy Skelly. For Secondary Mathematics, Samantha Jane Bailey. And Emma Jane Edge. For Secondary Modern Foreign Languages, Nicole Brewster. Matthew Davis. Laura Gent. Andrea Massoni. For Secondary Music, Craig Baker. Esme Caldwell. Thomas Courtney. Emily Driscoll. Lucy Griffiths. Zoe Martindale Howard. and James Matthews. For secondary science with chemistry, Madeline Barber. James Bashford. Samantha Eatwell. Leah Ho. Ben Lawrence. Nathan Severs. Nicola Venuto. For secondary science with physics, Thomas Agate. Darren Arbon. Victoria Booth. And Leah Hunt. For the degree of Master of Arts in Childhood and Youth Studies, Veronica Albornoz D'Amico. Also awarded the Barry Thorne Prize for Outstanding Academic Achievement, Fenella Pryor. And Claire Trafford. Vivian's here. Yeah, okay. And Vivian Chinazo Udeo. For Education Studies, Caroline Adams. Rachel Bareka. Rosemary Jane Booker. Rebecca Campbell. Emily Evans. Daniel Michael Ford. Moira Harity. Alice McCarthy Somerville. Lydia Mead. And Charles Stewart Murray. For International Education and Development, Teresa de Almeida Casasnovas. Helen Fonf. Kentaro Fukushi. Tanya Jovanovic. Kenta Kubokawa. Kefet Mabongo. Mayuki Miyauchi. Albalucia Mercia Gomez. Alison Policia. Corinne Yacoub. And Rachel Zucchetti. For social work, Helen Fleck. Alexandra Gaweda. Chancellor, I will now present to you for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Zoe Garrity. Chancellor, I will now present to you for the degree of Doctor of Social Work, Malcolm Heath. Chancellor, this concludes the list of graduands from the School of Education and Social Work.
I call upon the head of the School for Global Studies, Professor Andrea Cornwall.
Chancellor, I will now present to you for the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Anthropology, Rowan Goodrich. Megan Musitano. For Development Studies, Kathy Drew. For International Relations, Gary Kent. Volante Pepera. For the degree of Master of Arts in Anthropology, Anna Gross. Chantel Ingerfield. And for a prize, the Bill and Scarlett Epstein Prize, Chloe Peacock. And for Anthropology of Development and Social Transformation, Helen Destaire Brunt. Leonora Evans Gutierrez. Gumring Hakanda. Charlotte May. Joshua Waite. Timothy Webster. Yin Yang. For Conflict, Security and Development, Jake Barker. Fabiola Bucuti. Samuel Bullen. Alejandro García de la Garza. Zoe Katagiriti. Natasha Lecce de Moura. Irena Meyer. Amanda Miller. Julia Maria Morelli. Also awarded the Lisa Smurl Award for the Best Dissertation in Conflict, Security and Development, Patrick Schoenemann. Oh, yes. Christian Georg Stray. For Environment, Development and Policy, Jane Feeney. Tariq Angus Hawari. Sarah Hayward. Aileen Romy Lemke. Johanna Sido. Charles Emamuzu Uzi. For Geopolitics and Grand Strategy, Umar Donayev. Rebecca Wilhelmina Jurgens. Kanokwan Kassiem. Douglas King Spooner. Camilla Pallison. Aaron John Poynton. Semung Elena Wong. Anna Louise York. Bettina Zenz. For Global Political Economy, Hayley Adams. Luke Gowers. Alim Karoma. Sebastian Morvan. Simon Fanner.
Okay, hey, right now.
Kim Rahel Schutzer. Lara Simões de Souza Lobo. For Globalization, Ethnicity and Culture, Alex Dunleavy. Lanusongla Lemtour. Rosanna Marvel. For Human Rights, Philip Connor. Vanessa Crowley. Hisayo Hatta. Stefan Küstner. Sarah Petrovsky. Momtaz Rahman. For International Relations, Tsuyoshi Akaike. Anna Arno. Nicoletta De Molli. Rachel Dennison. James Foskett. Tom Harper. Ismail Kasiyov. Jack Larkham. Lisa Marie Lees. Yiying Pan. Luke Proudfoot. Maria Vashinina. Xinyu Wang. For international security, Hamad Al-Shahab. Olivia Garrigos. Akiyemi Oyewale. Fatma Rifayoglu. Maronia Segunda. Daniel Walters. For Migration Studies, Daniel Godshaw. Mai Higuchi. Ayaka Izu. Jennifer Francis McDerra. For Social Development, Zoraida Bernal Hernandez. Oh, sorry. Okay. I'm so sorry. I must apologise for a crossed out mess up on my list. For Migration Studies, our last graduand, Pei Feng Penny Shu. And so to resume, for Social Development, Paida Moyo Vumbe. Shamine Malvalvala. Dorothy Osvald. Tanya Slade. Mana Takabayashi. Kiyoko Uematsu. Jenny Weston. Nail Yoshida. For the degree of Master of Science in Applied Geomorphology, Oliver James Nicholas Dabson. For Climate Change and Development, Ogadimma Agumagu. Alejandro Giza Coutinho. Mahendra Saiwak. For Climate Change and Policy, Andrea Claire Hart-Smith. Naomi Ward. For Social Research Methods, Yusuf Bakali. Irena Dalloway Gonzalez. Kurosh Kochakpur. Victoria Valentine. Chancellor, I will now present to you for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, also awarded the Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Mirella Babu. Luke Cooper. Vanessa Iaria. Andrea Lania. Franziska Meissner. Miguel Rivera Quiñones. Gunjan Sondi. And Yulia Yurshenko. Chancellor, this concludes the list of graduands from the School of Global Studies.
I call upon Dr. Charlotte Street, Lecturer in Law, to present Professor Stephen Whittle.
Chancellor, Stephen Whittle is a Professor of Equalities Law, rights activist, acclaimed interdisciplinary author, Sussex alumnus and supporter of Sussex students, and a loving husband and father. Stephen's life and work embodies the idea that the personal is the political. Over 4 decades, his commitment to human rights has been unwavering. On his blog, Whittlings, Stephen notes that he was born a baby, not a woman. In Perfidious Man, he explains, "If someone asked me for an easy answer, I would say I was born a boy. It was just that no one could see it. And then when I grew up and I was big enough and old enough, I did something about it to make sure that people could see it." Consequently, he became involved in gender politics, struck by the guiding idea that biology wasn't destiny. Stephen did not just change his own destiny by transitioning to male in the 1970s, but through his actions, he has changed the destiny of countless others. Stephen was beaten for doing too well, not for failing, his O-levels, but thankfully, this was not enough to put him off academia. In 1981, he graduated from the School of African and Asian Studies at Sussex with a BA in geography. Then went on to read law at Manchester Metropolitan, incentivised by the fact that no one, not even the Equal Opportunities Commission, could help him with the discrimination he was experiencing as a trans man. Following his LLB, he completed an MA in criminology at Lancaster and then a PhD at Manchester Metropolitan University, where he was elevated to a chair in 2006. In 1992, he founded Press for Change with Mark Rees. This organisation lobbies for trans rights and supports cases in domestic and international courts. However, in 1997, Stephen's personal quest to be legally recognised as the father of his children was turned down by the European Court of Human Rights in the XYZ and the UK case. Despite this outcome, the case to change rights discourse and the campaign for legal protection from discrimination against trans people had succeeded in Europe by 2005 when he co-founded Transgender Europe to promote the enjoyment and development of trans rights. Between 2007 and 2009, Stephen was also president of the World Professional Association for Transgender Health. In this role, he was instrumental in removing from the American Psychiatric Association manual, something which has global influence, an automatic diagnosis of mental illness for those with a transgender identity. And in 2011, his international campaigning with others led to the UN Human Rights Council adopting a resolution protecting sexual orientation and gender identity. Others have also recognised Stephen's considerable contribution. His many honours include, in 2002, a Human Rights Award from Liberty, the Law Society and Justice. In 2005, an OBE in the Queen's New Year's Honours List. In 2006, the Virginia Prince Lifetime Achievement Award from the International Federation for Gender Education. And in 2012, the Frank Kameny Lifetime Achievement Award from the North American Lesbian and Gay Bar Association. Noting his many achievements and personal courage, his contribution to the development of equality and human rights law, and in his unswerving commitment to rights activism and support of the LGBT movement and dignity of LGBT people everywhere in the world. It is with great pride, Chancellor, that I present to you for the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, Stephen Whittle.
We have to do the formal bit.
Absolutely.
Otherwise you would have come here for nothing.
No, this is the formal bit.
Yeah. You know, just for that you get a degree. The formal bit extends to me saying it gives me great honour by the authority of the Senate and the University Council to confer upon you the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
In 2005, I was given something very like this after I married Sarah, my partner, who I've now been with for 35 years in a couple of weeks, which I think in itself deserves a degree for both of us. But that was a most special moment because it had taken so long for us to get to that point where we could legally marry and later adopt the children as belonging to both of us, so that if anything happened to either of us, we knew they had security and safety. Being driven by a personal issue can be extremely important. Oh, I've forgotten the very first bit, sorry. Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, Deans, graduates, down there, and graduates, because some of you are now graduates, and ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else in between. It's, as I said, a great pleasure to be here, a real honour to come back to Sussex. My time at Sussex was a wonderful educational experience, though I seem to spend much of it courting, to be quite frank. But it was a very good investment in that sense. In 1977, when I arrived at Sussex, in the 60s, swinging London might as well have been swinging Jamaica when you lived in Manchester. It had no influence at all upon our lives back there. But in 1977, when I arrived, this sort of big trip to this cosmopolitan place with a proper university was just a tremendous sensation. The truth is, I really was only like a lad from Coronation Street. Everybody still dines out over the fact that when I looked at the sea for the first time, I said, "Oh, look at all those ducks out there." Of course, they were seagulls. And if I'd thought about it for a moment, I would have recognised that. But my wife does still dine out on that story. In Sussex, when I arrived in 1977, it was a time of great change, real change, and we could feel that change in the air. And it was for so many aspects of life, ultimately IT and computers and all those things that have changed my children's lives in a way that means that whereas my life was very much like my parents' life, their life is so much very different from what my childhood was like. But there were also, in some ways, changes for the worst on the horizon. As I graduated, the Falklands War was to happen, and later, 10 years later, then we saw Gulf War I, and after that, Gulf War II. But in Sussex, there was a sense of change for the better. It was a sort of hotbed of liberationist politics. I did my course in AFRAS, and it was a geography degree, but I remember the very first lecture. We were very fortunate in the sense that we had amongst the people who taught us a group of lecturers who were banned in South Africa because of their involvement in anti-apartheid politics. When I came to Sussex, I learnt to boycott Cape apples and grapes and all those other things that would contribute to the fight against apartheid. But that first lecture, a question arose from a student that surely the time was for bloody revolution in South Africa. And the lecturer said, "But these are real people. They're flesh and blood. My friends will die just as much as my enemies will die. There has to be another way, surely." And that ultimate other way we saw in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. But that lecture, what he said in that lecture, I never, ever forgot. It was truly influential and inspirational in the sense that there was a way of being political that was different, that didn't involve constant conflict, but could reach that point of, I wouldn't say coalition because that's got a bit of a dirty word at the moment, but a sense that working together. And Sussex gave you that. And at that time in the late 70s, we saw the issues around race, the anti-apartheid movement. I learned about people like Steve Biko, Ruth First, Nelson Mandela. It was also a time of changes in gender and sex. And the women's movement here in Sussex was really advanced. In many ways, they were the first new third wavers because I was invited to the Christmas party, complete with beard, but even though I was living as a man, I was still an honorary woman because I had that time as a child, as a woman, or as a girl, supposedly. So it was great fun, really open to new ideas. And of course, sexual orientation was high on the agenda. In 1972, we'd seen the first Pride marches in London. In Sussex, in 1978, we had Blue Jeans Day. I was a geographer. You know, all I had was brown and green corduroys, so I had to scrape together the money to get a set of jeans. We had Blue Jeans Day, and on that day, if you were supporting lesbian and gay rights, you would wear blue jeans, and everybody did. Everybody wore blue jeans, and I remember sitting on the photocopier to photocopy the back of my blue jeans. Don't tell anybody I ever did that, of course. 33 years later after that graduation, and we've seen those changes move forward, I look at my children and their educational experience, and I see that they don't see the colour of people's skin any longer. They're blind to it. They don't think of friends who come out as lesbian and gay as perverts or people who are going to be after them in any way, shape or form. They say, wow, well, the rest of us have known for ages. It was just we were waiting for you to tell us. And also, they just assume that their relationships will be ones of partnership and equality, that violence against women is an absolute abomination. They will never think that they have the sorts of rights over women that my father had over his wife. At the same time, however, it's also important to reflect in a truly international community as we are here today, that in parts of the world, even here, things seem to be going backwards. We see the rise of a new right, often based in religion. It's xenophobic. We see the Little England mentality among some new politicians here, a sense that nationalism is important, but of course what that actually leads to is the sort of conflict we now see in Syria. We saw 20 years ago now, that awful massacre in Rwanda where Hutus killed Tutsis. Not long after that, where Serbs killed Croats. And sometimes, as I look at this rise of the new right and the influence that it's having in the world, and here, you know, including the floods, apparently, which are because we've allowed gay rights to go through Parliament, sometimes the left seems like it's in danger of disappearing behind the rise of that new right. But what education does, and what particularly working and spending these years at Sussex in an international community of education does, is it gives you a sense that actually all of us are the same. We all do have the same values. We all want to have families. We want to raise our kids to have good opportunities that are probably better than ours. We want to live our lives in peace, mostly, and that violence is an aberration. It's an abomination, just as my lecturer said those 37 years ago at Sussex University. And yet, we've seen this huge increase in conflict zones of rape against women as a form of warfare. Those awful cases in India of women being raped and killed. We see the rise of homophobic legislation throughout parts of Africa, the Supreme Court in India again failing to uphold lesbian and gay rights. Putin, the chap who takes off his shirt at every opportunity, you know, doesn't believe that anybody who's gay can possibly promote the idea of being gay. You know, I'm still trying to get the chest business in the middle of all this. In my own area of transgender studies, the trans murder monitoring project that we started through Transgender Europe noted in 5 years, the last 5 years, 1,123 murders of trans people, mostly trans women, in 57 countries over 5 years. 267 of those murders alone in 2012. That's horrendous when I think about it. And those are the ones we actually hear about, never mind the ones we don't hear about. Now, what university education does, and I know that it achieves this in you because I've seen it in my own students, we give you a set of transferable skills, most notably the skill to do critical reading and critical writing. I think everybody else here would agree that's what we promote desperately. Even in the scientists, we're making you write better. Russell Brand, a few weeks ago, said, well, of course young people aren't going to bother to vote. It's pointless. Politics mean nothing to us. But one of the things I say frequently is, unless you put that first X in the box, even if it's right across the voting paper saying, I don't believe in any of you, you cannot participate in the political process. Those skills that we have given you are like the opportunity to do that, and the cross is the ticket to the match. Being able to do the critical reading and writing gets you on the field playing football with the rest of the politicians. And I do know this is true because I've done it myself. Who would have ever thought that one day I would walk underneath that tunnel, the secret tunnel, from one side of above Westminster Station into the House of Lords and have a minister go, "Hi, Stephen, how's the wife, how's Sarah and the kids?" And, you know, you're sort of standing there thinking, this is me. I'm a lad from Wythenshawe, and I'm sitting here, and a minister is saying, "Hi, Stephen." I mean, it's possible to achieve it. That cross gives you the right to demand your voice to be heard. Your skills give you an opportunity to write letters. Did you know that there's an average response of 28 responses only to government consultations? If you bother to respond, there's a high chance that your letter will not only just be read, but taken seriously. And, like me, one day you will get invited over to talk about it. Wherever you live in the world, whichever country you're in, you're entitled to participate in the political process. People ask me why I still carry on doing transgender rights. Well, first of all, it was scary and exciting, and there wasn't, you know, there's not a lot of opportunities in life to get to the point where it's scary and exciting. But the other thing was that it was there, and I was articulate, I was able, I'd had the education, it was right, and it was the just thing to do. Nelson Mandela said of his time in prison, "I never think of the time I have lost. I just carry out a programme because it is there. It is mapped out for me." And I sometimes feel like it was just the job that God gave me. Education for you has been a real privilege. We have worked through our children's school with a school in a township, in Black Township in South Africa. When we first got engaged in that, the children used to go to school with a bucket. The bucket carried the toilet roll, their lunch, any drinks they wanted, and it was what they sat on for assembly and they wrote on for a desk. You've not had that experience. You've had a real privilege of education in luxury. Again, to speak about, you know, what Nelson Mandela has contributed to all our lives in the last 40 years. Another thing he said of great importance, I think, was that concern for others in our individual and community lives would go a long way to making the world the better place we so passionately dreamt of. So take the privilege of your education. Take care to dream that world into being. There are lots and lots of giants who've gone before you, and there are lots of shoulders to sit on. But you now have had the privilege of the education that will get you through the door. So have an absolutely lovely day. I'd like to thank everybody at Sussex for giving me this fantastic honour. You know, I only got a 2-2 degree. On the day, because my mother came down, I did the concession and I shaved off my beard for my graduation. We spent the afternoon going from pub to pub where they were saying, "You're not 18, mate." And I was going, "I have a degree certificate." And my mother was with me saying, "I remember the day he was born." I never got a drink in a pub that afternoon. I said, the beard's going back on, I'm afraid. So remember, don't wait for a better job to be given to you. Take the one that's there and do it and enjoy it. And your life will, I hope, be as privileged as mine has been. Thank you, everybody.
I call upon the head of the School of Law, Politics and Sociology, Professor Stephen Shute.
Chancellor, I will now present to you for the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Politics and Development Studies, Helen Byers. For Politics and International Relations, Alexander Patternott. For the degree of Bachelor of Laws, Katie Brill. Zoe Brown. Kim Duarte Abranhoser. David G. Robert Levac. Elliot Tubbs. For the Graduate Diploma in Law, Greta Jane Fadul. Amy Harvey. Patrick Hassan. Gabriella Lee. Anadi Raybaudu. For the degree of Master of Arts in Contemporary European Studies, Nathan Cons. Antonella Gatt. Cynthia Grabane. For Corruption and Governance, Sam Hamburger. Norbert Mwanda. Paul Mitchell. Also awarded the Sussex Centre for the Study of Corruption Prize, Samuel Power. Benjamin Wheatland. For European Politics, Ijab Abdili. Kaglar Ezikoglu. Also awarded the Jean Monnet Prize, Krenar Gashi. Francesco Uliano. Goxi Radoplu. For Gender Studies, Amal Khalid Omar Albeed. Charlotte Bacon. Caitlin Hayward Tapp. Emma Jones. Also awarded the highest dissertation mark for the MA in Gender Studies, Gillian Love. Shadi Ommi. Sophie Elise van der Ham. For the degree of Masters of Laws in Criminal Law and Criminal Justice, Rachel Bird. Nevada Ann McAvoy Cook. Ali Nashath Muhammad. Nicholas Sinclair House. Kian Tusi Manesh. For International Commercial Law, Ji Yi Huang. Beta Kaitaz Aker. Minahil Khan. Flavia Lizardo Oliveri. Elizabeth Inonge Muba. Also awarded the prize for the best overall performance on an LLM, Eghon Hon Obo. Anastasia Sarkisian. Jiawen Yang. Yin Yi. For International Criminal Law, Frederic Adra. Omoniyi Bodai Jo. Vigdis Osk Hassler Svensdottir. Mako Sanga. Also awarded the prize for the highest dissertation mark, Marie-Louise Weisbach. For International Law, Korawat Bonmi. Isabel Kosmala. Marek Misak. Moheb Mudessir. Haka Saglam. For international trade law, Ademi Adibadi Akinbiyi. Saleh Barjaz A. Al Abdul Karim. Jun Chen. Kanit Chanun Kala. Pongkan Kon Si. Haiji Lee. Sichao Zhu Li. Thitipon Mahem. Penpika Nopakun. Lei Pei. Vaidunas Sadauskas. Chao Ying Zhang. For law, Oluwaseyi Christiana Atinuke Aditola. Stephanie Awuha. Georgios Giannopoulos Kornarakis. James Hawley. Mayham Kawa. Mohammed Mir Mohammed Sadeghi. Stephanie Ndekwi. Aisha Omar. Olutoyi Sani. And James Paul Willer. Chancellor, I will now present to you for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Hayden Evans. and Liz Thackeray. Chancellor, this concludes the list of graduands from the School of Law, Politics and Sociology.
I call upon Professor Lawrence Haddad, Director of the Institute for Development Studies.
Chancellor, I need to warn you, this is my last graduation ceremony after 10 years as IDS Director. And don't worry, I won't ask you for a selfie or anything, but I might need a hug at the end, okay? Chancellor, I present to you, for the degree of Master of Arts in Gender and Development, Jessica Chapman-Segal. Paola Velasco Herrion. Sierra Vecillo. For Globalization and Development, Mayumi Fujita. Rachel Giaba. Maria Maestri Morales. For Governance and Development, Bashir Ahmad. Maria Kus. For Participation, Power and Social Change, Jimmy Lama. Also awarded the prize for Best Overall Master's Result in IDS, Effie Makepeace. Ulia Maklik. Christopher Speed. For Poverty and Development, Nazrat Esmati. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, absent. Again, for Poverty and Development, Melissa Neft. Shanila Wahid Fuliha. Well done. Jakob Wiesler.
Thank you very much.
Natalia Williams. Chancellor, I present to you for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Rose Oronyi. Ernestina Selormi. Anna Walnicki. Chancellor, this concludes the list of graduands from the Institute of Development Studies.
Chancellor, I present to you graduands who were unable to graduate earlier with their schools of study. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Anthropology, Nicoletta Naskos. For the degree of Master of Science in Management and Finance, Long Chen. For the degree of Master of Laws in Law, Charlene Koranteng. For the degree of Master of Arts in Human Rights, Binyam Eshetu Mekonin. And for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Paul Marshall. Go round the front. Chancellor, this is where you can take a moment or two to reflect on whether you believe you've received sufficient love during this ceremony.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. Yeah.
Chancellor, you've now met all the graduands being presented to you at this ceremony, and the moment has come for the formal conferral of degrees of the University of Sussex. I therefore ask you to confer their degrees on those presented to you and to the other graduands who have indicated their wish to graduate in absentia at this ceremony.
I formally confer degrees on all those referred to by the Vice-Chancellor. Congratulations. Fantastic. Well, that was pretty good for me. Don't know about you guys. It was great for me. There were two people who said to me I was their family today. Where are you? 2 people who said? Raise your hands. Okay, do you need anything? Are you all right? You got somewhere to stay tonight? You got clean underwear for tomorrow? Okay, good. Congratulations, everyone, including our latest honoris causa as well, Stephen. And well done, family and friends. Some of you were truly embarrassing. So, bravo. Well done. So as your time here at Sussex draws to a close, we hope that you will keep us in your hearts and thoughts and will remain connected with us as alumni. The Alumni Association isn't just there to kind of keep you up to date with what's going on and to arrange get-togethers and the like. It's a fundamental resource for the future graduates of the university. Like you, at one stage, many students will have arrived here living away from home for the first time, having new responsibilities thrust upon them for the first time, dealing with debts, trying to negotiate the tricky waters of friendships and relationships. And they could do no better than to be able to tap into the knowledge, opinions, and experiences of those who've been through the whole process firsthand. So I do hope that as many of you as possible will get involved with the various programs designed to help new students with their development and ultimately employability. There are those present today that have been associated with your success that look upon these days with huge fondness as well. So please show your appreciation for your teachers, tutors, and staff. That's enough. We don't want it to go to their heads. I mean, you know, we have to live with these people. Now, whether your next step is gainful employment, the search for it, further academic study, or simply some time out, I wish you the very, very best. In closing a ceremony, the Chancellor of a university is supposed to say something inspiring or impart some words of wisdom. Since I spend most of my time seeking inspiration from others, and the only thing I'm closest to wisdom is a tooth, I am sorely underqualified to provide you with either. But as we've already paid the rent on this room for another few more minutes, I may as well use up that time to share some thoughts of my own, and the really good ones are shamelessly borrowed from other people. This is just stuff I've been thinking about recently, but I've been pondering what exactly success means to me. I know for most people, I guess, generally they associate it with some sort of materialistic achievement, whether that's kind of money or, you know, your house or an area that you live in or something. And for others, I guess it's success means altruistic work. For some, it means being famous, raising a family, achieving a work-life balance. I mean, yours may be some, all, or none of those that I've mentioned. I don't have a problem with any of them. They're all valid as aims or targets. But when I looked at my own personal history at points where I felt unsuccessful, particularly when I look back, I found I had to modify my perceptions a little bit. In my late 20s, I found myself massively in debt, embroiled in litigation, which directly resulted in me unable to get a job for about 2 years. And I had to live at home and totally rely on my parents. The few years before that, of course, I had been spent in building up that debt, though not unfortunately because I was having a good time. That would have been okay to an extent, but it was down to the miserable experience I was having with my then employers, who I then sued for breach of contract, hence the litigation. Some of the debt was down to my naive financial judgments, but most of it was their fault. It always is. Either way, you know, I'd looked on that period as a period devoid of any success whatsoever. I was depressed, I was solitary, I was sedentary, and then I started to do some voluntary work at a local hospital. It was just to do something, anything, and it just got me out of the house for a couple of days, and I did voluntary work down there. And I started writing, and writing little bits and pieces, and those little bits and pieces became sketches and skits. And I took them to a friend of mine who was a musician, and I said, you know, you're not doing anything, I'm not doing anything. I've written this stuff, should we just put on a show somewhere and, you know, just be funny, just invite our friends? And so we kind of ended up playing in really small places, a maximum of 50 people, you know, capacity. And one day, one of those 50 people happened to be a producer from the BBC, who told me that they were thinking of making a TV show, and this was exactly the kind of material they were looking for. And basically, that has led to an extraordinary kind of 18 years so far for me. So when I look back at those kind of, my late 20s, in fact, the entire decade was a bit rubbish, I don't actually see a period of abject loss anymore. I see a subconscious gathering of experiences, some hardships, of course, but anything that I kind of went through at that time has enabled me to survive for, the 2 decades that came after. And I see that period now as an education in life matters and relationships that today allows me to help my kids out in a far less theoretical way, to viscerally value the depth and importance of friendships and the vital importance of choosing who I surround myself with. And even that group of corporate bullies that we settled out of court in the end, by the way, just so you know, I can't even hate them anymore, because really, that indirectly pushed me into a space of creativity that has kind of changed my life. This is an aside, actually. I bumped into one of them quite recently, and I decided that I really didn't like him. And I didn't like him not because of what he'd done then, it's because he was still a bully now. Do you know what I mean? I didn't hate him for that experience, because that's kind of, that has kind of informed who I am. And so now when I look back at those, what I regarded as the horrendous 20s, I now realize I wasn't the loser that I thought I was then. I was just success in waiting. I felt successful ever since, and not because I'm fabulously wealthy. I have a nice, but I don't have a flash car, I don't live in a mansion or anything. But it's because I don't define myself by a bad day, or a bad week, or a bad year. I mean, I had a bad decade, but I came out of it. And therefore, I know empirically that whatever I'm going through, I will always come out of it. I feel successful because I've become aware that my life is described by the meaning I give it, not by the meaning it's given by other people. That the picture that I see, no matter how big it is never the whole picture. So I'm always keen to kind of know more and learn more. And ultimately, that I have choice. Always have and always will. And that's why I'm in a position of success. And furthermore, then thinking about the people that do inspire me, I discovered that the people that I sought inspiration from all have one element in common, all the ones that inspire me, and that's boundless compassion. Some of them are award winners, some of them are kind of unsung heroes, some of them are tall, some of them are short, some of them are fat, some are thin, old, young, it doesn't matter. All of them have boundless compassion, and that's the thing that kind of inspires me. That's the element. And also that they express their humanity through that, in thought, word, and deed, either instinctively or by working at it. They work at doing that. They listen, they empathize, they give, not for adulation, not for respect, not for any return, but simply because they're expressing who they are. As Maya Angelou, the great American poet, said, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget the way you made them feel. The other phrase that I've been thinking about has been courage of your convictions, having a passion. I do think it's essential to have a passion because you combine that with curiosity, and it's a great motivator. But on the subject of courage of your convictions, firstly, it helps to have a conviction, unless you're a criminal, obviously. But the true courage of having it, I believe, is not blindly sticking to something. It's the courage to have it tested. Test it yourself. Invite other people to pull it apart, blow holes in it. And in the light of that experience, to then have the courage to change your conviction, to modify it, to alter it. This isn't defeat of an idea, it's the evolution of it. So allow your convictions, your thoughts, your feelings to evolve. The Bhagavad Gita says it is better to live your own destiny imperfectly than to live an imitation of somebody else's life with perfection. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. As long as they're your mistakes. Don't make other people's mistakes. They can do that. But don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just make sure that every mistake is a new one. Because someone who makes the same mistake time and time again, I think the definition might be idiot. So don't be one of those. Accept that life is unpredictable. And unpredictable doesn't necessarily mean bad. It can mean that there's a dizzying realm of possibilities that you have the choice to choose. I do remind students of this. They may, you may know this, but Sussex was my first choice when I applied to universities, and I didn't get in, right? And apparently my grades weren't good enough. So I waited till all those who were responsible for me not getting in had either retired, been deported, were in prison, just plain dead, and I came back in as Chancellor. So, unpredictable. So no experience never, ever needs to be wasted. If you're not enjoying something, then what are you learning from it? And if you're not enjoying it and you're not learning from it, then why are you doing it? Stop, do something else. This is a story that I really like. It's not a true story. It's a made-up story. It's a bit of fiction, but nevertheless, I find it has a powerful message. A story about two mice that fell into a bowl of cream and couldn't get out. And one mouse just thought, that's it. I look at the bowl, we'll never get out this. And he gave up and he drowned. And the other mouse just struggled and struggled and thrashed about and splashed about until he churned all the cream into butter and he just stepped out of the bowl. Sometimes the struggle is the solution. I believe that we are the sum total of all our choices. That's who we are, and our experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all combined to constantly define us. But what defines us is always what we do next. Always. Every time. Not just what happened to us. That's not who we are. Who we are is what our next choice is. We're all creative. We're constantly creating, and therefore we can create a better self every day, every minute, every second. So don't skimp on your dreams. That's the one thing people do say when times are tough. They go, don't dream so big. That's just a dream. Well, yeah, that's why it's called a dream. Einstein said, logic can take you from A to B, but your imagination can take you anywhere. I leave you with a couple of quotes and a suggestion, which you can take or leave. I don't mind. I won't be offended. The first quote is from Robert Frost, who said, in 3 words, I can sum up everything I've learned about life. It goes on. And in terms of worrying about the future, I turn to Charles M. Schulz, the creator of the Peanuts cartoon, who said, stop worrying about the world ending today. It's already tomorrow in Australia. My suggestion, you know the water that you boil vegetables in. Once you've done that, let it cool, freeze it, and then use cubes of it, either as stock or as a base for soup. Use it or not, I don't care. You're all graduates now. As the Dalai Lama said, if you think you're too small, if you ever think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. Be creative, dream big, be passionate, be compassionate, and never, never give up. I wish you all happiness and good fortune in everything you do. I officially declare this graduation closed.